I was driving across the country, chasing sunsets and caffeine crushes on my way to see my family and to best friends on the West Coast. I'd romanticize the whole thing, music blasting, pit stops at quirky diners, and a soul-reviving solo experience. But 9 hours into my journey, the only thing reviving was the throbbing in my lower back and a craving for greasy takeout. I booked a remote cabin in what the website described as a charming woodland retreat. I expected a cozy row of cabins filled with friendly travelers roasting marshmallows and playing acoustic guitars. You know, the kind of vibe you get in shampoo commercials. What I found instead was a lonely, slightly crooked shack standing in complete isolation like it had been socially distancing since 1987. The front door was shockingly modern, like it had been stolen from a luxury apartment in New York. The rest of the place, pure haunted lumberjack energy. The entire cabin was one small room with a bed, a kitchenette, an old couch, and a TV so ancient it probably only played Static and Ghosts. I made a sad microwave dinner, some frozen enchiladas that never fully defrosted, and passed out from exhaustion. Around 2 a.m., I woke up with the most bizarre sensation, not from a sound, but from what I can only describe as my soul whispering, "Get up now." I sat upright like a possessed ragdoll and stared into the silence. Out of instinct or maybe curiosity born from horror movies, I peeked out the small window beside the bed. At first, I saw nothing but darkness, then movement. Someone, or something, was walking through the trees. I couldn't see their face, but the figure moved like a person who had no business being out there. I froze. Why would someone be wandering this deep in the woods at night with no flashlight, no gear, and hopefully no chainsaw? After about 30 seconds, they disappeared into the brush. I stayed alert by the window for a while, hard thudding, until my eyelids dragged me back to bed, but I never truly fell asleep again. About 40 minutes later, I heard a noise outside. Before I could process it, there was a knock on the door, loud, demanding, aggressive. "Hey, open the door. I know you're in there." This wasn't a "hi, I'm lost" knock. This was a "hi dash I dash might dash be dash a dash serial dash killer" knock. The worst part, the bed was only 5 feet from the door. I could see the shadow under the frame. I didn't even breathe. My phone had one miserable bar of signal, and 911 wouldn't dial. I had to use Wi-Fi calling, which took its sweet time like I was trying to contact help from Mars. Finally, the call connected. I whispered my location to the operator, who told me an officer was on the way. The guy outside didn't wait around. I heard him stomp off the porch and, seconds later, the unmistakable sound of my car window shattering. I nearly screamed. When the cops arrived, the man was gone, vanished into the woods like some barefoot Bigfoot impersonator. But the strangest part, when the cabin owner showed up the next morning, he told me, with the emotional range of a stapler, that this had happened before. Same yelling, same breaking in, he just hadn't reported it. Didn't want to scare future guests. He shrugged. I laughed, genuinely laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my brain didn't know how else to respond. That man could have been in there to rob me, hurt me, or worse. But instead, I got a ghost story-worthy tale and some broken glass in my car. Or fast forward a year. I worked the night shift at a gas station on the edge of nowhere. I actually liked it. Fewer customers, less human interaction, more time to practice juggling empty chip bags and alphabetizing gum flavors. It was peaceful in a depressing, fluorescent lit kind of way, until it WAS and single quotes T. One night, bored out of my skull at 12:15 a.m., I decided to take out the trash behind the station. Nothing heroic. Just a man and his trash bags trying to fight off existential dread. I walked to the dumpster behind the building and nearly screamed when I saw a man standing silently behind it. I hadn't heard a single step, no rustle of clothing. He was just there. "How? Sorry, dude. Didn't see you there," I blurted. He didn't respond, just stared, blank, like someone who skipped his morning coffee. and maybe his meds. I backed away and hurried inside, brushing it off as some drunk guy from the bar down the street. But I kept glancing out the window, half expecting to see him pressed up against the glass like a cat. He disappeared. Or so I thought. About 20 minutes later, I saw movement from the corner of my eye near the back room. At first, I thought I imagined it. I was sleep deprived, and my blood was 80% Monster Energy drink at that point. But I checked anyway. I peeked around the corner, and there he was, the same man, standing in the dark like a life-sized horror prop from Spirit Halloween, and in his hand, a knife. I don't remember turning or even breathing. I just remember running. I barrel out of the store, tripping over a rack of baked chips on my way out, screaming like a cartoon character. I called 911 while hiding near the street. The police arrived quickly. But of course, the man was gone, vanished again, like he had a subscription to disappear monthly. I quit that job a week later, told my manager I had reached my limit for surprise knife own quiet weekend. I stayed up late in my suburban home, sipping Budweiser and watching reruns of Frasier, because I am a man of complex tastes. Around 11 p.m., I heard a noise, not from the front door, but from somewhere behind me. I muted the TV. It sounded like tapping, like a soft knock on a window. I checked the kitchen. Nothing. Living room, empty. Figured maybe it was a tree branch or a raccoon auditioning for a horror movie. I went back to my beer. 15 minutes later, the tapping returned, louder. I checked again, and this time, I noticed something bone-chilling. One of the back windows was open, so was the basement door. I'm not the bravest guy in the world, but I also didn't want to let whoever it was feel welcome. I grabbed a flashlight and tiptoed down the stairs. The basement smelled like old paint and fear. I flipped on the light. Nothing. Just shadows and cardboard boxes full of someday projects. But that's when I saw it, a man crouching in the far corner, holding a large kitchen knife. I nearly fainted. My entire body stiffened, and I slowly backed up the stairs like I was rewinding a horror film. I slammed the door shut and shoved the couch in front of it. Then I called the police, fingers trembling. An officer arrived minutes later and found the man exactly where I'd seen him, crouched and silent. He didn't resist arrest. In fact, he said something that still haunts me. I just needed somewhere quiet. He wasn't homeless. He had a job, an apartment, a car. He had a knife. About 5 weeks ago, during a string of rainy days, I was sitting at my desk late at night working on some papers. I leaned back to rub my eyes and saw something that turned my stomach to ice. There was a man outside my window, just standing, smiling. I stood up so fast I spilled coffee everywhere. He didn't move, just kept staring through the glass. When I finally gathered the courage to approach the window, he was gone, footprints in the mud leading to the woods. But when I followed the trail, I noticed something horrifying. The footprints were facing my house. That meant he wasn't walking away. He had come from the forest. My stomach dropped. I turned to head back and saw something even worse. He was now inside my house, staring at me through the window. I ran to my neighbor's house in a full-blown panic. They called the cops, who arrived to find my back door forced open, but no sign of the man, what he wanted, why he watched. I'll never know. You might be wondering how a collection of terrifying, goosebump-worthy experiences can also be funny. Trust me, when your car window gets smashed by a mystery man, or you have to explain to a cop why you spilled Budweiser on your panic call, you learn to find the humor. You laugh, not because it's funny, but because the alternative is never sleeping again. And here's the tearful part. Every time something like this happened, I realized how alone I was, how fragile life is. One misstep, one delayed 911 call, one wrong reaction, and things could have ended so differently. So yeah, now I triple check my doors, sleep with a bat near my bed, and I never rent isolated cabins on shady websites again. But I'm also more grateful for my friends, for my family, for every boring day when nothing happens, because boring, it turns out, is beautiful. I was never the life of the party type. College life kind of passed me by while I quietly passed through it. No girlfriend, no frat, no talk raids. No wild stories unless you count microwaving Pop-Tarts. Without taking the foil off, I wasn't exactly unhappy, just invisible. But here's the twist. I got my happy ending. In my late 30s, I met the most determined, loyal woman I could have dreamed of. She fights for me like I'm a king. We live together with two little monsters, our cats, Blue and Rez, and I'm planning to propose soon. So life's good now. But back then, I was just a ghost with WI-V. My best friends, Bryson and Ian, weren't much different. Our weekends were mostly snack-fueled nonsense in Bryson's dorm. But the moment someone mentioned a party, we were dressed and out the door like dogs hearing the word walk. Once we drove over an hour just to get to a bonfire that turned out to be 3 people in a cooler of Capri Suns. Yeah, we were that desperate. One Friday, Ian messaged the group chat. Some girl he'd been chatting with Callista invited him to a party just off campus. Lots of cute girls, he added. As bait, Bryson rolled his eyes and said, if this turns into an emo metal and rave again, I swear I'm faking a nosebleed. Still, we had nothing better to do. Bryson convinced his older brother, Chris, to be our driver. Chris was sober by choice and enjoyed watching chaos unfold from the safety of the driver's seat. Perfect fit. While driving, Ian began spiraling. She hasn't texted back in hours, he moaned. A few minutes later, he stared at his phone and muttered, she disappeared, like, profile gone. Translation, he got blocked. We told him to tough it out. We were already halfway there. No turning back now. When we arrived, our jaws dropped. The house was enormous, a rich kid movie mansion kind of place. Ian said he needed a drink before he could face the world. Bryson and I cracked open a few beers with him while Chris waited in the car, probably judging us in silence. After getting sufficiently buzzed, we made our way in. Immediately, something felt off. First, all the lights were on. Not party lights, hospital lights. Bright, white, clinical. Second, people were dressed like they'd just stepped out of a GQ magazine. It felt more like a charity gala than a college party. And the music, no lyrics, just floaty, haunting, instrumental. Sounds like yoga music on acid. I thought this was a party. Bryson whispered. Same. Ian muttered. I swore Callista said it'd be normal. But none of us really knew what normal meant anymore. There was booze everywhere. So we started drinking, trying to blend in. People glanced at us and then quickly looked away. Like we were stains on a white couch. I double-checked my fly. All good. Just awkward. Apparently Chris, bored out of his mind and still sober, wandered off to smoke in the car. Then it happened. A group of 3 girls walked up to us, confident, flirty, and way out of our league. They teased us about an entry fee, pointing to a bottle of tequila. Naturally, we paid up. Soon it was 6 of us drinking, laughing, dancing awkwardly. I hit it off with a girl named Tina. She had this snort laugh that made me grin like an idiot. That's when I saw it, a faint green line across her neck. Thin, straight, and too precise to be accidental. Not a tattoo, not makeup, just weird. I almost asked about it, but I didn't want to come off as creepy. So I shrugged it off and kept vibing with her. Eventually, I noticed Bryson heading upstairs with his girl. Then Ian did the same. I got nervous. Tina hadn't said anything suggestive, but the pressure was on. I excused myself to the bathroom. Only one was nearby, and it was occupied. So I waited. Finally, the door opened and out walked a tall guy in a white shirt and linen pants, looking like a cult leader from a resort brochure. He bumped into me and just stood there, staring blankly. I was about to say, "Hey, you good?" when I saw the same green line on his neck identical to Tina's. I asked, "What's your problem?" He smirked, then asked, "Who invited you?" Callista, I blurted. His expression changed. The smirk faded. Do you see Callista here? He whispered. I slammed the bathroom door in his face. I felt dizzy. What the hell was this place? When I came out, I started scanning people's necks. More green lines, all identical. My stomach dropped. I rushed toward the stairs. Thank God Bryson and Ian were coming down. I pulled them aside and tried explaining everything. They laughed like I just told a joke about haunted salad dressing. You're just mad you didn't hook up, Bryson smirked. Where are your girls now? I asked. Upstairs, Ian said. They told us to meet them in 20 minutes. I begged them to look around to notice the green marks. They didn't believe me. But then Ian turned, and I froze. A red line. Dude, I shouted, grabbing his shoulder. Bryson checked his neck. Same thing. Red dot. Ian said it was probably lipstick. Bryson wasn't so sure anymore. Just then, a guy walked by slowly, eyes scanning us. Green mark. He paused just long enough to make it weird. That was it. We're leaving. I barked. Bryson didn't argue. Ian hesitated, then followed. We sprinted out of the house like it was on fire. Everyone watched us go, but no one stopped us. Chris was already in the car. Finally, he said. As we sped off, Ian and Bryson's phones buzzed messages from the girls, asking why we left. How did they even know? We blocked them. To this day, I still don't know what that party was. A cult, an experiment, a prank. I've heard wild theories from everyone I've told. All I know is, if that linen shirt guy hadn't spoken up, I might have left with a green line on my neck too. And maybe I wouldn't be here telling you this.